Good day, folks, and welcome to the Anorak Review Show with your host, the Anorak. The season of giving has finally begun! About a week ago. Yeah, sorry this video couldn't get around much sooner. You see, when it comes to December and Christmas, you tend to get a little bit busy with stuff. Not just with the shopping and the decorating and all. Well, not in my room, but the rest of the house. But you also have to get busy with wrapping up some university stuff as well. But anyways, in this little festive time of giving and sharing, for my first gift this month to you, I'd like to talk more about the Electric Light Orchestra. You see, so far I've reviewed 1976's A New World Record, an album made in the midst of their classic heyday and the height of their popularity, 1981's Time, a futuristic rock opera involving time travel that could be seen as part of a turning point of era for the band, and 2001's Zoom, an average yet somewhat decent attempt at a potential comeback, even if it ultimately fell a bit short in the long run. And today, I wish to tackle their debut album, released back in December 1971, so already turning 50 this month no less, their eponymous album, The Electric Light Orchestra. However, for a while in the US, it was known as No Answer. The reason for this being is the result of a case of miscommunication. Apparently, an executive of United Artists Records, the US label that would distribute Elo's albums in America all up to Out of the Blue in 1977, he tried to contact the band, or at least the British company that were in charge of them at the time, Harvest Records, just to know what exactly the album title would be. But, of course, they couldn't get a response. As such, the executive jotted down No Answer, and it was kind of misconstrued as the album's title. Although, considering the eventual running theme of later ELO songs, such as Telephone Line and Calling America, and how they deal with communication, trying to call another person only to never get any response at all, I guess it's kind of fitting, if not actually sort of foreshadowing. And in terms of history, the trio that made the band, drummer Bev Bevan, as well as guitarist and vocalist Roy Wood and Jeff Lynne, were at that point the remaining members of another rock band called The Move. By the end of the 60s, Wood himself would eventually kind of cook up the idea of a band that would consist and combine both modern rock instruments and classical orchestral instruments, and in their own words, continuing where the Beatles have left off. And Len himself, of course, would jump into the opportunity. And this would lead into the eventual transitioning from the Move to ELO. Hell, the last Move album, Message from the Country, was being recorded around generally the same time as the first ELO album. So anyway, with that bit of history and backstory out the way, let's dig into the Electric Light Orchestra and uncover the secret origins of ELO. Man, at some point I should do something like a Secret Origins month, but for rock bands and their debut albums. Beginning the album is 10538 Overture. Not only the first ELO single, and probably the only one of this album, but probably the first ever song to be made for the orchestra. Written by Jeff Lynne himself, this was originally intended to be just a B-side for a potential Move single, but Roy and Jeff dubbed over the basic rock track with several cellos as well as other orchestral instruments such as a French horn and a hunting horn, and it eventually got passed over to the ELO band. And the title itself, which may evoke something as iconic as the 1812 Overture, came from Jeff's idea to make a song about a character whose name would be a number. The lyrics themselves seem to imply that this character in question was a convict who escaped prison, and Jeff himself sings from a second or third perspective, asking us listeners, did we see this prisoner run and hide? Did we see the news? Did we even catch the prisoner's face? Though, if you think that's pretty interesting, you should meet his cellmates, THX1138 and 24601! Anyways, the music itself pretty much sets the foundations of what sounds would come from the ELO band over the years. This rough yet enticing collage and combination of Hendrix X guitars and these eerie yet very distinct soaring cellos. It's somewhat ominous and ambiguous, but also in a way triumphant. This song is indeed the birth and genesis of the Electric Light Orchestra. Next is Look at Me Now. Written and sung by Roy Wood, this continues the heavy emphasis on cellos. In this case, there aren't any percussions or guitars, at least aside from the last few seconds of an acoustic, or any other instruments aside from the medieval Arabian, almost Egyptian sounding woodwinds like the oboe and the crumhorn. These, along with the haunting and near melancholy mood and the jittery beat that the instruments convey, as well as Roy's rather enigmatic lyrics about spirits, kings of castles, and Salvation Army girls, and even a mention of murder, which all this kind of recall the Shakespearean tales of Hamlet and Macbeth, while telling us to look at him now, feeling and displaying emotion. This song very much reminds me, and anyone who listens may listen to this, it definitely sounds a lot like Eleanor Rigby by the Beatles, which of course may have well been likely and intentional on the part of Roy himself. After all, one of the ideas of ELO was to, well, expand on the musical experimentations that the Beatles have been kind of delving into onwards from Revolver and Sgt. Pepper. And it also makes me wonder why Jeff Lynne never really bothered to really utilize various classical instruments beyond the basic violins and cellos. No brass or woodwinds or anything? Oh well. After that is Nellie Takes Her Bow, a more comforting and equally emotional ballad from the mind and vocals of Jeff Lynne, beginning with a deep and gradual crescendo for the first 15-ish seconds, before we're then subjected to Jeff's filtered yet soft voice and accompanying piano. He sings about a young up-and-coming actress, or stage actress, named Nellie, and from the point of view of a fellow backstage worker in auditorium, who may be implied to have feelings for her. While I obviously know that the name and chorus refer to Nellie bowing to the audience at the end of a play, but honestly, if ever I hear and read the title and name of Nellie Takes Her Bow, I kind of picture how she's playing a Robin Hood-esque role in this play, an archer with bow and arrow, similar to, say, Merida or Katniss. Then, about 2 minutes in, the music settles down for a bit, only for a march-like snare to come on in and erupt into a brief, frantic display of high strings and low horns before calming back down again into an exotic section of violins and tribal drums, and then returning to the beginning melody and vocals and kind of closing out. This time, Nellie acts out her dreams, and soon enough, she finally gets the lead in a play in Broadway, and hopefully one alongside a lamb lying down there. I might have mentioned how 10538 is the genesis of the ELO band, but this song, I think, is the proper start to the evolving style of music and writing that Jeff Lynne would be known for from here on. While in 10538 his voice may have been nearly unrecognizable, here it's very distinct. You can tell it's Jeff's voice, albeit in that very odd quality that would occur up to the El Dorado album. The more simplified balance of strings and rock instruments would definitely run majorly for the rest of the ELO discography. So in short, this song, Nelly Takes Her Bow, is Jeff beginning to learn and develop his own musical identity.